we talked yesterday about how hard it can be to try and set up home Wi-Fi. Imagine having to do that every single time there's a storm. It seems that there are these power surges that are causing modems to get fried, and because of the rugged terrain, a lot of people in the Blueies are being left without any mobile phone signal as well when they lose their NBN. Susan Templeman is the federal Labor MP for Macquarie, which covers the Blueies and the Hawkesbury. G'day, Susan. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Josh.
What's going on?
Well, we've obviously got some sort of design problem in those white NBN boxes that you get if you've got fibre to the curb. So it only applies to where there's fibre coming down your street. It stops at the sidewalk, and from there to your house you've got copper. And it's getting zapped by lightning or a power surge. In some way, it's frying the box. And we're not just talking about what you might lose one once. Some people are up to their 6th or 7th box because we've had a lot of storms in the last couple of months, because funnily enough, this is a really storm-prone area. And so everywhere from Hazelbrook down to Lapston, everyone's just on edge when there's a weather report about a storm, and we either have to race home and unplug everything before the storm or take our chances. And technicians are saying they're having to replace 30 or 40 boxes a day for several days, up to a week or so, every time a storm comes this way. So it's causing huge problems for people, especially those working from home.
But why is this particular to the Blue Mountains? Because we don't have fibre to the home anywhere, do we?
There's fibre to the premises from the original rollout, so part of the Blue Mountains and Hawkesbury has that. But the next best is fibre to the curb, which means you're stuck with this, antiquated copper coming from the street to your house.
But I'm saying, don't lots of us in Sydney have that situation?
Well, some people have fibre to the node, and I've got that in the upper mountains, and they don't seem to be having any problems in storms. So it seems to be the design of something that's happening in these mini pits. Other parts of Sydney do have fibre to the curb, FTTC, but they probably don't have the compounding problem of very poor mobile signal in some areas. So I'm talking to you on my mobile, but that's not thanks to a Telstra or Optus tower. That's thanks to it hooking into my NBN at home. And without the NBN, I get, if I'm lucky, 1 bar of 3G. So we wouldn't be having this conversation if there was a storm, because I'd either turned off my NBN to protect it or it would have blown.
You mean that's calling over Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Wi-Fi calling.
So that would pose a danger during bushfires or something?
I think that's what people are saying. Now the storms are accompanied by rain, but of course a year ago there was lightning and it was creating more bushfires. So it's not hard for us to imagine this situation a year ago. We didn't have NBN a year ago. We had good old-fashioned landlines. But during bushfires, this is just creates huge amount of fear. There's anxiety now. Like right now, it's school holidays, so kids are home, they're playing games, and they get a call from mum or dad saying, "Hey, a storm coming, unplug the NBN." You can imagine some of those conversations with teenagers.
Exactly.
And I had a teacher say to me, "Look, my box blew. I've had to wait a couple of days. They're coming, but when I go back to school, I don't have time to be at home waiting for a technician to deliver a new box."
Well, not to mention that, like, they'll slot you, if you need an appointment for the NBN, they'll slot you in 17 weeks at precisely 3:02, and then they won't come until the next day. That's my personal experience.
Oh, look, I have to say the one thing I'll say about NBN, they have been responding to the replacement boxes. Their technicians have been out delivering 30 or 40 at a time, but it's taken them a week or two to cover the areas they've needed to after each storm. So this is just huge problems for a whole range of people. And remember, businesses have the same setup. So, doctors' surgeries, businesses have said, I can't do FPOS when it goes down. GPs can't do Medicare rebates. They can't get test results. So from everything from kids playing games or streaming your TV service through to so many people working from home, being encouraged to work from home. But it's a bit rough when you say to your boss, "Look, sorry, there's a storm coming. I'm going to have to unplug all my gear now and I'm going to be offline for the next hour or so." go. And if you haven't been able to do that, there is a real risk that you will lose your service for, it could be a week. I got one of my locals has set up a backup office at a friend's house because she's onto her fourth box. And she just knows she's in a really storm-prone part of the mountains, and she seems to get zapped a lot.
I'm speaking with Susan Templeman, the Federal Labor MP for Macquarie, which covers the Blue Mountains and the Hawkesbury, about this phenomenon of Blue Mountains residences being having their NBN on the fritz when storms hit. One person on the text line, Jan, says, "Hi Josh, the same things happened to us in Mona Vale. It only happened once, but it was after a storm, and we have fibre to the curb also." Annie says, "I live in Lawson and don't have the issue as I have a good surge protector." Another person writes, "Hi Josh, why doesn't everyone put in a decent surge protector?" Do you know if that would work, Susan?
Well, interestingly, the advice from NBN Co is not to have a different surge protector.
Yeah.
So they explicitly, I was just reading, I've got a GP clinic that lost its service and they've replaced it and they've given them a spare, which is what people have been asking for. And I think we're going to have to see that happen more and more. But they've explicitly said don't put on additional surge protectors. Look, NBN needs to get to the bottom of it, and when you say it's happening in Mona Vale, that shows it's going to happen probably everywhere where there's fibre to the curb, but we might be experiencing it on a bigger scale. And Lawson won't experience because they're on fibre to the node in most of Lawson. So it is really specific to the technology, and NBN needs to identify, is it the box that is just a dud box that they've commissioned? Is it something happening in the pit where the fibre and the copper meet and then the copper comes into your home? What is causing the problem? Because remember, if my NBN goes, nothing else in my house will flick off. It's not like I've lost all my electricity. It's just this particular bit of technology that is experiencing. It's highly susceptible to it.
But as you say, it's tricky to tell the teenagers to get offline when there's a storm. I tell you what, it's even trickier to tell 3-year-olds that Bluey has to not be playing on iView when there's a storm as well.
That's right, and that's every time you hear a slight rumble. Yeah. And I think we've been really grateful to see the weather forecast, even though it's going to be hot for the next few days. But we know there are storms coming towards the end of next week, and once again, people will be really conscious. You know, last year we spent our days monitoring for bushfires, monitoring the weather for bushfires. This year we're monitoring for storms. So it's the sort of thing, it makes us feel like we're back in the last century as far as technology goes. There's got to be a fix. And just giving people a new box is not a fix. That's a Band-Aid. Yep. We really need a proper fix to this, and I suspect it's needed right around the country.
Susan, thanks for your time. Great to talk to you.